Welcome to lecture 18 on stochastic processes. In previous two lectures, we have seen what do we mean by uh, stationary probability distribution, and we have also seen that the stationary probability distribution for a Markov chain may or may not exist, and if it exists, it may be unique or may not be unique. So the question arises that under what conditions it will be unique. So do we have some conditions under which this will be unique or not? So this theorem 3.7, this gives us the conditions under which this stationary probability distribution is unique. It also gives us that this stationary probability distribution is the limiting distribution. So first I will read the statement, then I will discuss the statement. So let xn n greater than or equal to 0 be a positive recurrent, irreducible and aperiodic Markov chain. So that means the conditions are positive recurrent, irreducible and aperiodic Markov chain. In short, you can say that this is strongly ergodic chain. If you remember the definition of strongly ergodic, the chain which is positive recurrent, irreducible and aperiodic. We call that chain strongly ergodic. So we are assuming here that Xn is a strongly ergodic chain and its transition matrix is given by P, which contains the elements P, I, J. Then there exists a this is uh, unique, okay, positive stationary probability distribution pi such that limit n tending to infinite pijn is equals to pi j, I and j belongs to 1 to n. So here we are considering that state space is uh, s is equals to 1 to n. So this positive stationary probability distribution. So what do we mean by positive? Positive means all these pi j's are strictly greater than 0. Okay, we know that pi j's are non-negative, so positive means they are strictly greater than 0. So what it says that if your chain is strongly ergodic, then you will have unique stationary probability distribution, and this probability distribution, argument of these probability distribution, they will be strictly positive. And one more thing is there, which is this statement. It says that the n-step transition probabilities will converge to pi j if you are moving from I to j, and you can see that it is independent of I. That means if process enters in j from any I in n steps, the n, if n is very large, then will be nothing but pi j. So pi j, that means whatever you are getting as a stationary distribution, that stationary distribution is also a limiting distribution of the chain. So this is also very important result, that what is the limiting distribution for a strongly ergodic chain. So limiting distribution of limiting probabilities will be pi j. So we can easily see that pi ijn limit is pi j. That means whenever the process is entering in state j from any I, the limit is pi j. So you can see that here, if this is 1, this is 2, and this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, and so on. Okay. So now if you are entering in 1, that means if you are coming from 1 to 1 or 2 to 1 or 3 to 1 or from anywhere, then this limit will converge to pi 1. So first column of n step transition probability matrix, if you take the limit n tending infinite of p to the power n, then this will be first column will be pi 1, second column will be pi 2, third column will be pi 3. Why? Because first column means you are coming from any state to state 1. So we know that if you are coming from I to j, then limit is pi j. So if you are coming from 1, 2 or any other state into state 1, then limit will be pi 1. And similarly, the column 2 will be pi 2, column 3 will be pi 3, and so on. So what we are getting in a strongly ergodic chain, this n step transition probability matrix will have a limit, and limit will be given by this. Okay, so this is one thing. Now we will also see the importance of this pi j, as we know that if the process enters into a stationary probability distribution, it will remain there. That means future distributions will be will be same. Now what we are getting? We are getting that n step transition probability matrices, they are converging to this matrix. Okay, so now if you consider that initial distribution is q, that means your process starts with this distribution. So vector q is q1, q2, qn, and what is qi? Qi is this, that probability x naught is equals to I. Okay, that means process starts in state I, the probability of that is qi. So if you multiply q into pn, if you multiply this vector q with vector with p to the power n, you can see that, and taking limit, you can see that limit will not apply on q, so it will only apply on pn. So this will be q1 q2 multiplied by this matrix. Now if you multiply this row vector with this first column, what you will get? You will get q1 pi 1 plus q2 pi 1 plus q3 pi 1, and so on. So you will get this quantity, that this quantity you will get q I pi 1, because whole column, first column vector is pi 1, contains pi 1. So q1 will be multiplied by pi 1, q2 will be multiplied by pi 2, and so on. So you will get qi multiplied by pi 1, and summation from 1 to infinite. Similarly, if you multiply this row vector with this column vector, you will get this quantity, and if you multiply this row vector with this third column vector, you will get this quantity, and so on. Now you can see that this pi 1, pi 2, pi 3, they will be taken outside. Then inside you will have only summation xi qi. Now summation xi qi, what is this? This is summation I from 1 to n, probability that x naught is in state I, but your process will be in any one state. That means it will be either in state I or state 1, state 2, state 3. So these total sum of these probabilities must be 1, because these are mutually exclusive events and they are exhaustive also. So their sum must be 1. So this summation q1 qi will be 1. So you will get pi 1 pi 2 pi, and that means you are ultimately getting the stationary probability distribution. So what we are getting here? See, one very important thing, you have started with the vector q. Okay. Now whatever you are getting here, that is independent of q. That means you can start with any initial distribution. You will always get this stationary distribution pi. That means it is independent of q. So what is the interpretation of this? So now you focus upon what is q times p to the power n. So if you remember that q times p to the power n gives you the distribution after n transitions. It gives you the distribution after n transitions, because it will give you this vector, probability that xn is equals to 1, probability that xn is equals to 2, and so on. That means at nth step you are in state 1, at nth step you are in state 2, and so on. So q times p to the power n represents the distribution after n transitions. And what you are getting? You are saying that if I take n tending to infinite, this distribution will converge to stationary probability distribution pi. That means, thus, the above theorem implies that the limiting distribution of a strongly ergodic Markov chain. What is the meaning limiting distribution? That means what will be the distribution of process in each states, and you are taking number of transitions up to infinite, so that we are calling limiting distribution. So the above theorem actually implies that limiting distribution of a strongly ergodic Markov chain is same as is its stationary probability distribution. Number one. And number two, it is independent of the initial distribution. So one thing, its limiting distribution will be same as its stationary probability distribution, and it will be independent of the initial distribution. Now if you recall, we have done basic theorems, and we have shown that for a strongly ergodic Markov chain, this limit Pijn n tending to infinite was given by 1 divided by mu jj, where mu jj is actually mean recurrence time for the state j. So if you remember, if you recall from theorem 3.5 about basic limit theorems, you can get that for a recurrent Markov chain, for a recurrent periodic, and this irreducible Markov chain. The positive recurrent was not required. Positive recurrent was not required because that in if it is null recurrent, then it will be infinite. This limit will be infinite. So in this case, in our case, this is the result. Now, if you combine these two things, that means the above theorem implication and this, then you will get this statement which says that this limit Bijn and tending to infinite is pi j, and this is also equals to 1 divided by mu jj. Now since it is a positive recurrent chain, so this mu jj will be finite. So this 1 divided by mu jj will be greater than 0. That was written that pi j is strictly positive. Pi j is strictly positive means you are getting positive stationary probability distribution. So ultimately what we are getting, this is the final important statement. It says that this limiting distribution is pi j, and this pi j can be related with 1 divided by mu jj. And if you use it, this mean recurrence time, you can find out mean recurrence time directly by using 1 divided by pi j. That means if you want to find the mean recurrence time, you find the stationary distribution and take mu jj is equals to 1 divided by pi j. So now these are the results for strongly ergodic chain. That means positive recurrent, irreducible, and aperiodic. Okay. Now we will see some example. So we have seen this example 3.11 that it has a unique distribution. So you can verify that this transition matrix represent a Markov chain which is irreducible, positive recurrent, and aperiodic. You can verify that. Okay, and we have seen that pi was 1 by 4, 1 by 4, 1 by 4, 1 by 4. We have actually calculated this pi. So by our previous result, we can say that this limit, if you want to find out the limit of p to the power n, that means you take this 4 by 4 matrix and take p to the power n and take limit n tending to infinite. What will be the answer? Since this chain is strongly ergodic, the answer is very simple. First column will be pi 1, pi 1, pi 1, pi 1. Second column will be pi 1, pi 1, pi 1, pi 1. Similarly, third column will be second column will be pi 2, pi 2, pi 2, pi 2. Third will be pi 3, pi 3, pi 3, pi 3, and fourth will be pi 4, pi 4, pi 4, pi 4. But since pi 1, pi 2, pi 3, pi 4, all of them are 1 by 4, we are getting this answer. So from here, you can say that this mu 1, 1 and mu 2, 2, mu 3, 3, mu 4, 4 will be 1 divided by 1 by 4 because pi 1, pi 2, pi 3, pi 4, all of them are same. So ultimately what you will get? You will get 4. So you can say that whenever process leaves state 1, on an average after 4 time steps, it will return to state 1 on an average. Okay. So thus after leaving state I, it takes on an average 4 time units to return to state I. Okay. So this was the result about strongly ergodic Markov chain. Now we want to know that okay, this result was for uh, a chain which was having finite or infinite whatever state space. But for finite Markov chain, that means if space is finite, if the set of state space is finite, then we have something else. That means this we have some result, some assumptions we may leave. So for that, I am not proving any theorem here. I am just giving the statements and discussing the statements, that what are the important thing in that statement and what is the meaning of that statement. So for the next theorem, that means theorem 3.8, we if we want to prove this, then we should have this lemma 3.1. But we are not going to prove it, but this lemma may be useful for competitive exams to find out t to the power n kind of thing. Okay, and what is t I will discuss. So let J be a transient state. Okay, so J is a transient state of a Markov chain. Markov chain may be finite or may be infinite. That means its state space may be finite or may be infinite. And I be any state. Okay, so remember J is a transient state, but I can be any state in the Markov chain. Then what it says that Pijn n tending to infinite will be 0. So if we want to just understand this by argument, that means without mathematical writing, so you can understand J is transient. Okay, J is transient means after a finite number of steps, it will not be possible to return back to J. Okay, because uh, if J is transient, in future process will leave it with the positive probability. That means it will certainly after leaving it will never return back. Okay, so if it will never return back, what does it mean? It means that from any other state or even from J itself, it will not be possible to return back in any steps. So that is written here that Pijn n tending to infinite. That means if number of steps will be very high, that means if time goes on, then returning to J from any state I will not be possible. So that is the meaning of this statement, that limit n tending to infinite Pijn is equals to 0. So since J is transient, in future it will not be possible to return from any state to J if you take n tending to infinite. So that is written here. Now what it says that okay, if you collect all those states J which are actually transient and make a submatrix, that because in P you have many states, you will just find out those which are transient and take that submatrix T. So this is a submatrix of transition matrix P where J and K belongs to transient states. Okay, so that means we are just focusing upon transient states and their one step transition probability matrices. So it says that if you take t to the power n, then this will also have limit as O. O means null matrix. That means the matrix which contains all elements equal to 0. Why? Because see, you can understand that from any other state you cannot come to transient state. So from transient to transient it will also not be possible. So in if n is very large, this t to the power n will be 0. So this lemma 3.1 is actually used to prove uh, theorem 3.8. So since I am not going to prove theorem 3.8, why I have included this lemma? This lemma I have included because in different competitive exams, you may get questions based on these two results. That if J is transient, that limit of n tending to infinite, Pijn is 0. Or if you collect a submatrix related with transient states, then this submatrix, if it is T, then limit n tending to infinite, T to the power n will be a null matrix. So you may get different objective questions based upon this lemma. Now we will focus upon next theorem, which is related with finite Markov chain. So what is important in finite Markov chain? Okay. Now see, in finite Markov chain, not all states can be transient. Why? See, again, I am not going to prove it mathematically, just but we can understand why. See, if your Markov chain is finite, for example, its space state space is 1 to capital N. Okay. Now, since it is finite, what you are saying, not all states can be transient. What does it mean? That means at least one state will be recurrent. At least one. All of them cannot be transient. Why? Since if all of them are transient, what do we mean by transient? Transient means there will be a situation when process will leave state 1 and will never return back to state 1. Okay. So if you consider that, okay, after n1 steps, it will happen that after n1 steps, it will never return back to state 1. Then after n2 steps, it will never return back to state 2 because that is also transient. After n3 steps, it will never return back to state 3. And if I consider that, okay, after n steps, it will never return back to state n. So if you find out maximum of these numbers, so that time will be related that after that time, it will the process will never return to state 1, state 2, state n. So if the process will never return to any state, then where it will go? It will not, it cannot go anywhere else. So that means it will return back to some of these states. At least one state it will return back. So we can say that in a finite Markov chain, all states cannot be transient. That means at least one state will be recurrent. Now, if it is irreducible Markov chain, okay, if it is irreducible, now remember that irreducible Markov chain means it will have same property for all states. So since Markov chain is finite, it will have at least one recurrent states, and if it is irreducible also, all states will be recurrent. So remember in previous theorem, our assumption was that Markov chain is positive recurrent. Second assumption was it is aperiodic. Third assumption was it is irreducible. So if your Markov chain is finite, you do not need to assume that it is recurrent. Now what is about positive recurrent? So that is also important. No state can be null recurrent. That means no state will have mean recurrence time is equals to infinite. Okay, all will have finite mean recurrence time. Again, the argument is same, because when you are saying that it has infinite mean recurrence time, that means it is possible that it will not return back in finite time. So that is also not true. So remember that for a finite Markov chain, all states will be automatically positive recurrent. Okay, so assumption of positive recurrent can be dropped. Okay, can be dropped from previous theorem. So you can say that if a Markov chain is finite, then only the requirement is it should be irreducible and it should be aperiodic to get a stationary probability distribution, to get a unique stationary probability distribution. Okay, so remember that after this theorem 3.8, we can say that the states of a finite Markov chain can be classified as either periodic or aperiodic, and either transient or positive recurrent. Okay, null recurrent is not possible. So either transient means all of them. I am not saying all of them are transient or not. I am saying if it is irreducible, then all of them will be positive recurrent. Okay, so recurrence in a finite Markov chain will always mean positive recurrence. Okay, now we will see with one example. Example this. So let the transition matrix of a finite Markov chain be given by this. Okay. So what it says, if you draw this transition graph, 1 to 1 the probability is 1 by 3, that means self loop is 1 by 3, and 1 to 2 is, it is 2 by 3, from 2 to 2 it will be, and so on. Okay. So these are the things. Now you can see from state 2 you cannot go anywhere. That means state 2 is absorbing state. Okay, you can see that easily, that from state 2 you cannot go anywhere. So state 2 is absorbing state, number 1. Number 2, this chain cannot be irreducible, because state 2 is not communicating with any other state. So this is not irreducible. Now if you focus upon only on transient states, because what, see, I am going to discuss with lemma which I have given you. So this is an example for lemma, example for above lemma. Okay, so state 2 is of course absorbing state. What is about state 1? You can see easily, if you leave state 1 and go to state 2, you will never return back to state 1. So that means there will be a possibility with you can leave state 1 and will never return back to state 1. So that means state 1, you can see that it is a transient state. You can verify it mathematically also. So I am not going to do that. State 4, state 3, they are also transient states. You can verify by argument, by observation, or by mathematical writing. That means using a small f argument, or is using summation pii probabilities. So since state 1, 4 and 3, they are transient, what I am going to do, I am going to just writing down this p, this p, this p. I am just arranging this p and writing down state 2 separately and state 1, 3, 4 this way. So state 2 here and state 1, 3, 4, 1, 3, 4. So I have just reordered this matrix. Then you can partition this matrix as this. Now this is our T. This is our submatrix, matrix T, which is related with transient states. So above theorem says that, above lemma 3.1 says that if you find out t to the power n and take limit n tending to infinite, then this will be 0. Also, if you find out columns, they will tend to 0. Why? Column will tend to 0, because we know that all of them these are transient states and you cannot enter into transient states. So after n steps, these probabilities will also be 0. So you can see that is if 1, 3, 4 are transient, then eventually this process will be absorbed in state 2, because 1 is transient, 3 is transient, 4 is transient. Ultimately the whole process will converge to state 2. So remember that this was an irreducible Markov chain. So that's why you are getting one recurrent and other transient states. If it is irreducible Markov chain, then all states will be recurrent. So now we can say that, combining all these things, we can say that in a finite Markov chain, a class is recurrent. Sorry, no. This is another theorem. Another theorem. So it's a, we can say that in a finite Markov chain, a class is recurrent if and only if it is closed. So we have proved one way result. We have already proved one way result. The converse I am not going to prove. But remember this result also. That is, if a class is recurrent, it will be closed. If a class is closed, it will be recurrent. It is in a finite Markov chain. Now, if you combine theorems 3.7 and 3.8, finally for finite Markov chain, we can say that this. So, in a finite Markov chain, which is irreducible, remember, if it is irreducible, it will have recurrent states. All states will be recurrent, even all states will be positive recurrent. So, now what you need? You need just a periodic. So if your chain, which is finite, it is irreducible, then you just need a periodic, then you will always have a unique stationary probability distribution, and this limit will be there. That means you will have a stationary probability distribution, and you will also have this distribution as a limiting distribution. Okay, so now if you focus upon these things, I would like to mention one more thing, that what is the sufficient condition. So you can see that we have two conditions. One is irreducibility and another is aperiodicity for finite Markov chain. So what are the importance of these two conditions? So I am just separating these two conditions. What I am saying, the sufficient condition for the existence of a unique stationary probability distribution. Okay, see, we are having two things. One is uniqueness and another is this limit. And we have three assumptions: finite Markov chain, irreducible, and aperiodic. So finite assumption is there. What are the role of irreducibility and aperiodicity? I am now focusing on that. So you are getting two things: uniqueness and this limit. So what this remark says, says that irreducibility is the result of uniqueness. That means if the Markov chain is irreducible, uniqueness will be there. So the sufficient condition for existence of unique stationary probability distribution is that finite Markov chain is irreducible. Okay. So if finite Markov chain is irreducible, you will have unique distribution. Then what is the use of aperiodicity? Aperiodicity is for the convergence. That means for this result. Okay, so what we are ultimately getting, we are getting that if you have a finite Markov chain, you just verify whether it is irreducible and aperiodic. If it is irreducible and aperiodic, it will have a unique stationary probability distribution, and this limit Pijn will converge to pi j. So if I summarize these things, remember that if you have any Markov chain, that means not finite, then you require three things. One is positive recurrence, irreducibility, and aperiodicity. Then you will have unique stationary distribution, and this limiting distribution will be pi j. But for finite Markov chain, you don't require the assumption of recurrence, because recurrence will be there. So you just need irreducibility and aperiodicity. So these results are very important, because in many competitive exams I have seen that the questions are based on these results. So if you can understand the behavior of your Markov chain, you can easily solve those questions. I will solve some of them in next lectures. So I will stop here and hope that this lecture will be useful for you. So thank you for watching this lecture.